Good day to you. My name is Andrew Waller. I am a sixth grade history teacher at Chaska Middle School East, and today I'm going to talk about effective learner reflection and really why that's so important to getting kids to personalize their learning. So, I'll start talking about why reflection is important. I'm going to give you a set of directions. I just simply want you to remember the directions. So, imagine you're getting these directions. You're going to go to the end of the block and take an immediate left. Go 2 blocks down and then take a right. After that, you're eventually going to come to a roundabout. When you get to the roundabout, you're going to take the second exit and kind of veer off to the left. Once you do that, you're going to go until you hit your fourth exit. When you hit your fourth exit, you're going to come to a 4-lane road. Of the 4 lanes, you need to be in the center middle or the middle left lane so that you can take a left. After you do that, you're going to need to take an immediate right, and your destination is going to be 2 blocks down and on the left. Now, if you're like me, once you hear directions, you may be thinking to yourself, okay, I think I got that, I can remember all that. But then once you get to the car and you're actually behind the wheel, you get lost. You have no idea what you're doing. And this is what happens to our kids all of the time. When they're in our lessons, they seem to get it. We think they get it. They think they get it. But the next day, it's gone. That's why a kid one day can do a math problem repeatedly, but the very next day can't do that exact same type of math problem because they lost it. This is because of something called our dorsolateral part of our brain in our prefrontal cortex. This is where we have our working memory. Working memory means information can come in and it's going to last for about 20 minutes in our brains. Unless we do something with it, though, after that 20 minutes, it's going to be lost. Our goal as teachers is to get that information into other parts of the brain, because when we do that, then it goes into long-term storage when we're making connections. This is why reflection is so key. Reflection forces us to use the information. Now, as teachers and even students, we often confuse using information with reviewing information. Reviewing is just going over it again. We don't want to just go over information again. We want to actually use the information. And that's why it's important to not just reflect, but reflect in a way that's actually effective, forcing kids to use the information. Before I get to actually getting kids to do that, I want to talk about learner buy-in, because when I first started having my kids reflect, I realized that it wasn't successful because I wasn't getting the learner buy-in that I needed. Reflection to them just seemed like an extra task they had to do because I required it, and they didn't actually put the effort into doing it effectively. So I get learner buy-in in week 1 by giving an actual lesson on reflection. I used to present them with a whole bunch of research about why reflection is so important. I later actually realized that it's more effective if they go out and find that information themselves. So I had kids literally just Google reflection and learning. A whole bunch of articles will come up. They read the articles, they share what they find, and that's when they see all of this research on why reflection is so important to learning. We then take it a step further by actually defining what real reflection is. After that, I have to prove that reflection is meaningful to them. It's one thing to see the information, it's another to actually feel like it's going to improve your life. We, as human beings, don't do anything unless it actually does something for us. So I'm going to prove to them that reflection is going to be beneficial. And I do this by showing a video. It's called Stuck on an Escalator, and you can YouTube it real quick if you need to. I'm going to show you about 30 seconds of the video to bring home my point.
Whoa, that's not good.
Oh, I don't need this. I'm already late.
Somebody will come. Anybody out?
So the point is, these people are stuck on an elevator and they don't know how to get out of this situation. So we reflect on that. What's the main point of this video? Why does or when does this happen in our lives? What strategies do we have for overcoming challenges? I often then show a second video, but I don't reflect on the second video. Throughout the week and really throughout the month and year, I use the phrase stuck on an escalator, stuck on an elevator to reinforce the point that sometimes we're just stuck and we need to find the solution. There is a solution, we just need to find it. After about a week and a half later, after showing these videos, I actually make the point. And I make the point You remember the escalator video. 100% of my kids always remember the escalator video because we reflected on it. The video they don't get reflection on, they often don't remember much about. So, why is this important to me? Again, it comes back to how is this going to make my life easier as a student? So, I explain our power standards. We have power standards throughout the year. They're often associated with skills. For example, one power standard is the ability to evaluate effectiveness. I explain that power standard, and then in trimester 1, we evaluate the effectiveness of Reconstruction after the Civil War. If you reflect on that learning target, evaluating the effectiveness of Reconstruction, when that power standard comes around in Tri 2 for our learning target associated with the Second Industrial Revolution, they'll already have that skill of evaluating the effectiveness. If they truly reflected on it, they'll have that skill and it'll make completion of that learning target and then the Tri 3 learning target much, much simpler. In other words, their life will be easier if they really learn it the first time. And the way to really learn it the first time is to use the information by actually reflecting on it. So, I have gotten kids to buy into this idea of reflection being meaningful to them, and they're regularly reflecting every day for every learning target that they do. So, here are some templates that I use with kids. I teach in an integrated program with science and language arts. So on the left here, you're going to see learning targets for all 3 subject areas. Right over from there, you see what we call our show column. In the show column, kids link evidence of their learning. In other words, they link something that proves that they met or mastered each learning target. And then they have to justify how that evidence proves that they met the learning target. The slow column you see in yellow is key because this is where kids not just list what they did to learn it, but explain how each thing they did was meaningful to their learning. The trap a lot of kids fall in initially is just listing what they do. I go to this seminar, I did this assignment, I went to this coaching workshop. I tell them stop doing that because I already know that. If you came to my seminar, I know that. You don't have to tell me that. Listing what you do does nothing. That's just reviewing information. It doesn't benefit you. Telling me how each thing you did is beneficial to your learning of that learning target, that's where real reflection comes into play because then they have to think about the meaning behind everything they do and how it's going to benefit their learning of the learning target. In the grow column, kids think about how they're going to use this going forward, and this is where they really make meaning of the learning target itself. How is this skill going to help me later on this year, or later on in my middle school career, or in high school, or in college, or just in life in general? So that is an important piece as well. Here I have learning or discussion prompts or reflection prompts for each one of those columns. And this was actually developed by a colleague of mine, Mary Perrine, also teaches in my district. This template is a little bit different. This is for my more traditional setting where I'm just teaching history every day for about 45 minutes. Again, kids are required to reflect for every learning target they do. On the left, you're going to see learning activities. In the learning activities column, they just list 3 things they did to learn a learning target. Then they have to make a connection and make meaning of those activities. How is it actually connected to the learning target? Why were those important for my learning? And then lastly, they have to explain to me what level they think they mastered the learning target at and why they think that. Justify their learning of this learning target. Again, that's making meaning of what they're doing. I have a few prompts here. I won't explain them all. The third one, though, I'll maybe explain a little bit. This is where we make a random connection. One way to learn is to connect or associate learning with something interesting. So I show the kids Charlie Bit Me YouTube video. It's kind of a funny video. And then I give a really short mini lesson on some historical event, and then we draw connections between the Charlie Bit Me video and that historical event. It's just a way of associating your learning with something else, and it makes more meaning out of it. Here are a few resources. These are linked in the presentation, and that is effective learner reflection.